All right, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Black Mass Paranormal. So today it's going to be a little bit different. I have a bunch of footage that I want to get out to you all that I haven't had an opportunity to share for a multitude of reasons, and I want to try something a little bit different. I'm still down for my surgery, looking better, but I'm working on getting back out on the trail. So today I wanted to talk about something that's pretty crazy that's unfolding in East Tennessee. Now, there's an area that's known as Ice House Bottom. If you are interested in Appalachia, you really need to look into the Native American side of it. It goes so much deeper than the weird, creepy stuff that everybody talks about on TikTok. Now, the Ice House Bottom site is a location of where the Cherokee Indians were that is kind of shrouded with mystery. Not too far from this area, the Back Creek tablet was also found. I have a location that not only myself, but Scott Carpenter also used to research. In this area, we both have had a multitude of paranormal encounters, and Scott was able to document some of the best evidence for the existence of Bigfoot than really anybody else I've seen. Now, there's also Dogman sightings that are in this area and a few other things. So recently, I went back to this area, and when I was there, a blacked out helicopter started flying overhead. And then I noticed a drone flying overhead. And as I start to walk up to gain access to where I typically would enter this area, there are big no trespassing signs, that are very indicative of them trying to get something out of this area. Now, Scott had a feeding station set up there. There was all kinds of Dogman activity that has been found there. And on one of my investigations, this is a print that I pulled from that same area. Now, so what I find really, really interesting is that now there's all of a sudden this interest of what is going on over near it, in this area. So I ended up getting some information stating that people had been finding artifacts here. It wasn't really anything new. We've known about this site for seems like ever. What I find interesting is that even though I've been researching that area pretty consistently for several years now, so did Scott. Now there have been reports of other strange things happening there. I kind of feel like it's very similar to what happened with the Skinwalker Ranch. All of a sudden, the government is really interested in the paranormal happenings there. They initially walk in, they cut off the place. I know now they have a investor who is doing all of his own research, but this land was owned by the state. It wasn't up for, grabs, at least as of yet. So I have a bunch of footage that I had taken prior. I wanted to at least share with you all on this. I am on one of the e-bikes in this video, and I actually cover a pretty large area. So you all can get a better understanding of really how big this area is and maybe some of the last footage of it. So I just kind of hate to leave it and not use it all. I was essentially going to kind of cut it up and use it that way, but it's just for me, I think it's just too much footage to just kind of let go to waste. Okay, y'all. So in this video, you are going to be seeing me travel across basically half of the area where I'm talking about. It's a very, very large area that could easily conceal some sort of craft. It could easily conceal really the existence of Bigfoot, Dogman, those cryptids. There have been several investigators now go out to this location at this point and have some pretty fantastic evidence that they've been able to recover, as well as Tony from the Confessionals, John from Expedition Unknown, and there's a few others that are currently trying to do some research in this area. Near the ancient ice house bottom site, really the area is just steeped in history and rich folklore of the Cherokee people. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that I have a massive respect and a massive interest in the Native Americans that not only survived in Appalachia, but their connection to Earth, to really this world and our understanding. So I want to kind of go over a couple of things about the natives that used to inhabit this area. So Greenback sits along the Little Tennessee River. It's a sacred waterway for the Cherokee people. The Ice House Bottom site nearby is one of the oldest known Cherokee settlements, dating back over 9,000 years. This was home to the Overhill Cherokee, who told stories and passed down traditions orally, essentially left a tapestry of myths that are still relevant today. But also want to be very clear, these tales are not just like bedtime stories. They're really warning lessons and a kind of a glimpse into the world where the line between the natural and the supernatural kind of blurs. And that's one thing that I've really talked about on this channel. And with my respect to the Native Americans, I really kind of felt like they had a much closer connection to the earth, to the wilderness than we do today. I think the majority of us just kind of, even me, I'm including myself in this, we just don't have that same kind of connection. And after these past several years of me going out and investigating and trying to reestablish those connections, I've really experienced something like completely mind altering. Like my perspective on the supernatural world and our connection to it through cryptids, ghosts, spirits, aliens, all that stuff has completely changed. I've always been a believer in the paranormal. However, after doing this for as long as I have, my perspective on it has just totally changed. So the Cherokee believed their homeland was alive with spirits. Rivers like the Little Tennessee River were essentially gateways to the other world, used for purification rituals. But some of their stories go beyond spirits, hinting at creatures and forces that sound like they belong in a sci-fi movie. So we are going to kick this off with the really kind of the most terrifying one, Tall Nuwa. Native American folklore is the giant mythic hawk. So they essentially described this creature as having like a pair of enormous raptor claws and feathers that were made of almost metal. It soared over the Little Tennessee River, and the Tall Nuwa, the Cherokee legends of this giant mythic hawk, said to nest in the caves near Sitico Creek. Now, Sitico Creek is an area that when I was younger, I used to frequent a lot. I think now the majority of the campsites that I used to go to are no longer available. But in that same area when I was younger, before, I mean, I was into the paranormal, but I wasn't filming the paranormal back then. We didn't even really have cell phones that would work in that area. And for some reason, our parents just thought it was cool for me to drive up to Citico Creek, no way of communication, and spend the weekend. And I did. And I had an absolute blast. And I'm thankful that my parents trusted me enough to go do that. However, it's extremely dangerous. And this possibly because the Tal Noir was in that area. So, according to James Mooney, a 19th century ethnologist who documented Cherokee myths, the Tal Noir were fearsome predators that could snatch up dogs and children from the local villages. So the Cherokee told of these birds flying up and down the river, their cries echoing through the night. And some say that they were guardians of the Cherokee people, while others say that they were omens of danger. But here's kind of where it gets a little bit weird. The Tanuwa sound a lot like the thunderbirds of Native American tribes. So massive birds tied to storms and power. Some of the cryptozoologists wonder if these legends could point to a real undiscovered creature or even extraterrestrial visitors that were mistaken as birds. Because after all, the Appalachians are an absolute mecca for paranormal activities, to include UAPs and then back in the day what we used to call them UFOs.